here on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra.
Every game from every ground.
Good evening, this is 5 Live Sport. I'm Mark Chapman. It's 20 years this month since Justin Fashanu became the world's only openly gay footballer. It's 12 years since he killed himself in an East London garage. On an Inside Sports special on BBC One last night, I tried to find out why other sports have had openly gay sports stars, such as Gareth Thomas in rugby union and now league, Donald Cusack in hurling and Martina Navratilova in tennis. I spoke to all of them in a bid to understand why football in particular and sport in general struggles to come to terms with homosexuality. The programme is available on the BBC iPlayer. Feel free to text us tonight, 85058, or you can tweet me on the subject. It's just at Mark Chapman. In the next half hour, you will hear from Navratilova and the Olympic diver Greg Louganis. And with me in the studio are Andy Turner and Ed Connell from London Titans Football Club, a gay-friendly club based in south-west London. Evening to you both.
Evening, Mark.
I'll start with you, Andy, because this is something that's been said to me quite a lot whilst doing this. By talking about it and by doing the documentary, I've created more of an issue with it.
That could be said. But the only way you're actually going to get the issue discussed in media like this, on radio programmes like this, in the press and television, and amongst football supporters, is to do the documentary that you did.
Why does it need to be discussed?
Well, the title of the documentary is The Last Taboo, and I mean that basically answers your question. It is the last taboo. As you explained yesterday, there are gay people in all walks of life, and people have come out in politics, in show business, television, radio, journalists, whatever. Sport is the one area where there are not many openly gay sportsmen or women, certainly at the top level, and football is probably the sport where, at present, there's nobody. And sport is a role maker of for young people, and I think for young men and women coming through into sport who are gay, I think they need to have that role model.
Andy, you're the chairman of London Titans. Ed, you're the manager. You play in a gay-friendly football league.
Yes.
Not every player that you have, though, is gay.
No, we have probably about 25% of our members are now straight players, but most players are gay.
Why play in a gay-friendly football league? Why not play in a Saturday league or Sunday morning league?
When I first became involved in the club, I was concerned as to why we needed to have a gay-friendly league or a gay league. But since being involved, I've had people tell me their experiences of growing up, playing sport in school, and for many of them, although they were very talented sports people, they were put off the idea of playing sport in school because they were concerned about being bullied about their sexuality. And for them, they want an environment whereby they can play the sport they love, but not have any, bullying or any negative comments being made to them.
But as I said last night on the documentary, that you wouldn't... It sounds ridiculous, and it might sound crass. I don't mean it to sound crass, but you wouldn't know it was a gay football team unless you knew that you were playing in a gay-friendly football league.
No, that's right. I mean, I think people expect when they turn up to see a gay football game there's going to be lots of stereotypical gay behaviour. But as you probably saw yourself when you came along and played, it's not like that at all. The only thing that would maybe make you think that it was something other than regular football is, from my experience of having played regular football and gay football, is the friendship and camaraderie, both off the pitch and on the pitch. I would say it was greater in our league than I've experienced elsewhere.
But by setting yourself up in a gay-friendly league, you're isolating yourself. You're drawing attention to yourself.
Possibly, yeah. One of the real joys I find with gay football is that we're basically open for everyone. I played a bit of Sunday football in my teens and 20s, and then I didn't play football at all until I joined Titans in 2007 at the age of 46, 45, and most gay football clubs accept any player of any standard. We want all gay men and women who have a love and enjoyment of football to come along and get involved, and that will include playing or supporting or administration. And I think that is one of the major differences between a gay club and, if you like, a straight club, which I don't necessarily like using that terminology. But I mean, I certainly, at my age, would not be playing football on a Sunday morning. My ability is not good enough to play, and I'm probably at an age where, well, I might be playing in a veterans. But I think that is the main difference. We have players of all standards who come along who play football.
Aside from the club, you're both huge football fans.
Yeah.
You regularly go to games. Ed, do you hear homophobic chanting when you go to games? It's not something I have ever been aware of.
No, I mean, I go and support Chelsea, and I don't hear any homophobic chanting there. But that's not to say that there's not homophobia amongst fans, there's not homophobia amongst the sort of football clubs as well. But you do, I mean, I speak to sort of fellow players and supporters around the country who are gay, and they experience it at some of the clubs that they go and watch at. In particular, there's a gay team based in Brighton. We speak to the players down there, and they frequently, have to endure tolerance or abuse coming from opposition fans.
One man's abuse is another man's banter.
Well, it is, but John Amici made an interesting point last night about at what stage does abuse, what's the boundaries. And the reality is, unfortunately, at the moment, people form the opinion that you can get away with comments like that because it is banter. Well, I'm afraid to say that comments to certain people are banter, but other people take them as being quite unpleasant and upsetting. And we need to establish an environment whereby people learn that those sorts of negative comments aren't banter at all, they're abusive.
And the most common that you could probably say that you would hear on the telly is "get stuck in, you big," and then insert your name for a gay man there.
Yes.
That is abuse in your...
It is. I mean, it's abuse because I know and hear from people that say that upsets them. And if it's upsetting them, it's abusive. And other people can perhaps put up with that because they've learnt that in sport you get the mickey taken out of you if you're, overweight or you're short or you're tall. But I think it is, when people are getting offended by it, then yes, it is abusive.
OK, 85058 is the text this evening. Let's hear from Martina Navratilova, without a shadow of a doubt, the world's greatest female tennis player. She's been openly gay since the late 70s.
Back then, being gay you were written about in derisive terms, very derisive. The crowd also, if I got introduced, when Chris Evert came out, everybody clapped. When I came out, some clapped, some didn't clap at all, and some jeered or booed or whistled. I knew it wasn't because they didn't like my tennis. So that was difficult that way. I did not get the fan support that I would have had I been, openly straight. But I had to be true to myself. I couldn't live any other way.
Martina comes to the net. Up goes the lob from Garrison. It's out.
Game,
over
set,
the
match,
baseline.
Miss Navratilova.
The match is over, and Martina Navratilova is Queen of Wimbledon for a record 9th time.
I was starting to get asked the question, I think like 78, 79. And I said I can't talk about it because it would, until I get my citizenship. And after I got my citizenship, 2 days later, a reporter calls me. Well, what about it now? I'm like, well, I still can't talk about it because it would hurt the sponsorship. So then he writes, Martina's bisexual, but doesn't want to talk about it because it would hurt the sponsorship. So I was kind of outed anyway, but I would have come out if it didn't bother everybody else. But not that I wanted to come out, I just didn't want to stay in the closet. I didn't want to pretend that the guy sitting in that friend's box at Wimbledon was my boyfriend. I just couldn't do it, even though there were people, my publicist and manager, were suggesting that I do that to quell the rumors. I'm like, well, it's not a rumor, it's true.
Well, everybody's been cuddling and kissing up there since she hit the last point, and now she's going to join the group. And then there's more cuddling and kissing going on there than any nightclub in London.
The thing is about being an individual athlete in a sport like tennis, it wasn't going to affect my livelihood that way. I knew I could make money, I could still win my matches and my tournaments. Nobody could keep me from playing because I'm gay. I knew it would hurt my endorsements, but I just couldn't live with myself the other way. A lot of athletes nowadays don't come out because they say it would hurt their commercial appeal, but how many athletes really get endorsements? Very few. But the issue, I think, for team athletes is if they do come out, would they get to play? Because, there are so many players on a team and the coach decides who gets to go on the pitch. So it's a much more tricky, I think, for athletes in team sports, male or female, to be openly out.
Can anybody argue anymore that Martina is the greatest woman player this game has ever seen?
You still get it kind of she's nothing but a lesbian. You still get that. To be out to the world it's not fun. It's not something that I aspired for. I don't want to be known as a gay tennis player. This is